For this podcast, we're looking at the reliability and validity of sources. So here's the question of reliability. Reliable data or information is characterised by similar results or content across repeated trials or sources. So how can we assess the reliability of a secondary source? Do you remember the TV ads with this boy? He was asked to do a research task on the Great Wall of China, so he asks his dad.
Dad, why did they build the Great Wall of China?
That was during the time of Emperor Nazi Goring, and it was to keep the rabbits out. There was too many rabbits in China.
Okay, now Daniel will do his talk on China.
So the dad showed an unreliable source of information very much. The TV ad promotes the internet as a reliable source, and it's worth asking, how do we know that the sources on the internet are reliable? How can we tell for sure what we're reading is a good? Have a look at the screenshot from the website of Wikipedia, and can you spot the problem? Well, if you didn't see it at first, have a look at the highlighted version below. The first major wall was built during the reign of the first emperor of China, Nazi Goring. His main purpose in constructing the wall was to keep out the many rabbits that was plaguing the empire. Sounds like the fence that kept out the rabbits in outback Australia. So that information was just plain wrong. After a few days the screenshots were made, that sentence with Nazi Goring was removed. Wikipedia is a website that can be edited by anyone, whether or not they know anything about China or not. Wikipedia used alone is therefore an unreliable source, and its information must be carefully assessed. So how can we know if the information from a secondary source is reliable? Well, here's a good way of assessing reliability. Reliable source is characterised by some or all of the following features. It is a scientific journal, and so it is peer-reviewed. It contains the same information that is repeated in a number of different reliable sources. It's not open for editing by the public, so Wikipedia and blogs are unreliable. It has a reputable or official credentials, for example an official university website or a government website. So evaluating validity and reliability of secondary sources. For reliability, ask yourself, how consistent is the information from other sources such as textbooks, teachers and so on? If it is consistent, it's reliable. If your source is a textbook, look at the published date and check to see if it's recent and if it's the most up-to-date edition of the textbook. They are checked for errors before being released. If it's a website, .gov or .edu are usually reliable. However, .com and .org and so on aren't usually, considering they usually have biased opinions. For validity, ask yourself, how did I gather this information? Does it answer the aims and or relate to my hypothesis? It is, simply put, the relevance of the data to the investigation.